So the Packers and Patriots wrapped up their game a little early on Saturday night due to the Isaiah Bolden injury, which thankfully it sounds like he is doing well and recovering. He was able to have all feeling in all of his extremities, which is a really good sign, especially after such a scary hit that he took where he was really laying motionless out there. So really glad to hear that. But, coming out of that game, I wanted to break down some of the film of what we saw for the Packers players out there and really how does that, make us feel as far as, like Jordan Love's performance, some of the depth pieces that we have, and then also some of the battles that we're having, for additional playing time really on the bubble of the roster or guys that are actually going to make the roster even. So let's get right into the analysis. So first off, we're looking here at the botch snap from Josh Myers to Jordan Love. Matt LaFleur talked a little bit about it in his press conference, and ultimately it's kind of a routine thing to have happen where they teach the centers to snap the ball when they see somebody enter the neutral zone. But on the snap, the edge moves just a little bit, but he gets back, and they didn't ultimately call that encroachment penalty as Myers was hoping, and that's how we ended up with that fumble, setting the Patriots up in scoring position already. Josh Myers has had a number of issues with this in particular throughout camp so far, botching, I think, 3 snaps, one with Love and 2 with the backup, or 2 with Love, 1 with the backups rather, and then this one in the game. Really kind of his job on the line a little bit. We don't know if ultimately Zach Tom potentially moves over to the center position or what exactly is going to happen there. I won't be surprised if he starts off the season as the starting center, but then if he doesn't, improve his consistency and his overall performance, that they potentially make a move there. Notably as well on this line, which we'll see in some of these clips too, Rasheed Walker started at left tackle. Obviously, David Bakhtiari isn't going to play or didn't play in this preseason. Potentially, we'll see about Seattle. I'm not holding my breath on that one at all. But it's interesting that we're seeing Rasheed Walker out there as the starter at left tackle rather than Yosh Nijman. He's really pushing Nijman for that swing tackle kind of position. Or maybe Nijman ends up starting at right tackle and they do move Tom inside. It's one of those things where a couple years ago we even saw, as we weren't sure where Elton Jenkins was going to start, the Packers being a little bit cagey about some of their personnel decisions throughout the preseason, not telegraphing what they're going to ultimately do once the season starts. I'm pretty sure they're very confident in Zach Tom no matter where they put him along the line, so I won't be surprised if that's the move either. This next play that we have here is Love rolling out to his left, throwing back against his body and his momentum to Luke Musgrave. But if you see here on this clip, the safety, or that nickel corner, if you will, is really looking back at Love and then looks back at Musgrave as well and is able to make that play on the ball. But if we look at this other angle here, as Love rolls out here, we can see that corner is making that move, but we have Romeo Doubs coming behind him, who already had a step on his man. Well, there's plenty of open space towards that sideline for Love to kind of get the ball up and down over those defenders and maybe make a completion there. Something that we'd like to see a little bit different read on, because that other throw he made was a bit dangerous. And then here we've got the deep shot to Romeo Doubs, initially called an incompletion, but Doubs was able to make a great play and get that right foot to drag as he's going out towards the sideline. You'd like to see him kind of, after he beats his man, get back on his line. You'll see here as he goes, he gets on top of his man, but he continues to fade right towards the sideline rather than kind of getting back on his position to give Jordan Love more of a spot to throw that ball to. Ultimately, the ball placement was good. You'd like to see maybe Love throw it out a little bit further ahead of him so he can hit him in stride, but not a bad play. Immediately following that, Jordan Love sees this open field and is able to take off, scramble, get a good gain here, even though he takes a little bit of a shot at the end from the defensive lineman. Another great thing about that is how he got up. He's jawing after that play. He's not sitting there taking it easy on these guys, and his teammates are there backing him up, getting in that defensive lineman's face as well. You love to see that kind of cohesion and that support from each other. And the last play I've got for Love here is the touchdown to Jayden Reed. It's really subtle, but he does a great job looking off that deep safety, which in this clip you can hardly see, but you'll see it in the next one. He subtly looks off, to the right of Jayden Reed, and Reed continues to come across. You'll see the safety here highlighted now. Really starts to break back towards the inside of the field, which opens up that opportunity for Reed to make that great catch on a frozen rope from Jordan Love and still be tough after the catch and get into the end zone. One of the really great things about this play, too, was how A.J. Dillon takes that play fake and just drives the blitzing defender into the ground, really buying Jordan Love that extra time he needed to make the throw and complete that touchdown. Another guy that's made a lot of noise this preseason has been Malik Heath. A bit of a bubble roster guy, but I think he's performed steadily enough, consistently enough, and really made some splash plays both in practice and in games to solidify his role on this team. Outstanding blocker in the run game as well, but he's got just toughness, like grabs the ball, like strong hands at the catch point, and then finishes his run after the catch with physicality as well. Another great play that he made here was just with this physicality that he catches this ball at the highest point and really bails Sean Clifford out on this play where you've got 4 Patriots defenders converging on him, and he goes up and makes this outstanding grab, just high points the ball, takes a shot from it, gets his helmet knocked off, and gets up really just ready for more action. Another undrafted guy that's been making a splash on offense has been Emmanuel Wilson, and he has really shown up in the running game in particular, breaking off chunk yardage runs. A lot of his runs have been 7-8 yards or more. He had one that was a 14-yard run today, and he's also caught the ball well out of the backfield. Now, we haven't seen a lot out of him insofar as pass protection reps go, so that's a little bit of a question mark, but he did play a little bit on special teams, and that pass protection, the pass catching and special teams are really going to be the differentiating factors between someone like him and Patrick Taylor. I would argue that Emmanuel Wilson has maybe a little bit more upside as a runner. Patrick Taylor has done well overall. He did score a touchdown in this game as well, but it's one of those things where I think the upside as a runner is in Wilson's favor, and the spot that really has Taylor maybe a little bit more entrenched in that running back 3 role is his run protection, or his pass protection rather, and his special teams contributions. He is a more steady special teamer right now than Emmanuel Wilson is, and he's a little bit better and more reliable in pass protection as well. A guy that I really thought earlier this camp was going to be in the mix for that running back 3 was Tyler Goodson as well, who's really dynamic out of the backfield, running and catching the ball. But we haven't seen him hold up quite as well in pass protection, and then the fact that he's injured right now doesn't really give him any favors. That might ultimately be a really good thing for him, or at least for the Packers for this year, because with that injury, maybe he'll be able to be snuck onto the practice squad again, and then we'll reassess the situation next year as A.J. Dillon's in a contract year. Aaron Jones will have another year of wear and tear on his body, and we'll see kind of where we go in the future at the running back position there, because I do think of Tyler Goodson maybe a little bit more in that kind of mold of an Aaron Jones. As we shift over to the defensive side, one of the guys that really stood out this week was Jayden Reed, and he had 2 sacks. One of them was a strip sack, and you see, he used a couple different techniques in his pass rush. So here he converts speed to power, extends that arm so that tackle can't get into his body, and he just drives the tackle back into Mac Jones for the sack. In this next play, he uses a little bit more of his typical move that he used last year, where he dips under the tackle and then bends that edge really well, and that's the play that he forces that strip sack on, and which he recovered himself as well. Really overall a good performance, putting together a strong campaign to vie for starting position, opposite Preston Smith in week 1, should Rashan Gary not be ready to go. Another guy on the defensive side that stood out was Karl Brooks. Karl Brooks had an outstanding day as well. Really, on this play, he splits the defenders, gets between the guard and the tackle, and gets in for the sack. And then the next play here, he gets around the edge of on the stunt and really gets pressure in the face of the quarterback, Bailey Zappi, who he ends up actually being really in Bailey Zappi's lap a lot in the backfield throughout this game, but forces the incompletion on that play. And then Lukas Van Ness, quiet contributor so far in preseason, had a tackle for loss, made some nice plays in the run game as well, forcing basically like 1 or 2 yard gains, if any gain at all. And then this play here, he works a stunt with Quay Walker. Quay breaks outside, and you can see just kind of the versatility that Lukas Van Ness has as he goes up against his guard and still has the power to drive that guard back and really kind of collapse the pocket on the quarterback, forcing an errant throw. That's one of those things where despite his, slight weight disadvantage on the interior, he still has the power to be able to, make an impact in that position, very similar to how Zadarius Smith did with the Packers when he was with us. But those are just a few of the plays that that kind of caught my eye from the game on Saturday. This next week, we've got 2 practices. We've got the final preseason game against the Seattle Seahawks on Saturday at noon. And then we've got roster cuts down from 90 to 53 next Tuesday. But make sure to stick around because I'm going to bring you my 53-man roster prediction and a few more other, analytic pieces throughout the week and following the Seahawks game as well as we, get ready for the regular season and kind of see, who's ultimately going to be on this 2023 Packers initial 53-man roster. It's always going to change, but stick around here and I'll bring you all of the updates as it does.